Alright, so this is the second playtest of Dragons and Travelers' Tales, the Hack of Dungeon World I wrote. And we're following up with the same group as the first session. And accordingly, we actually need to do the end of session move at the start of this session because we didn't have time to get to it last session. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so when you reach the end of a session, choose one of your bonds that you feel is resolved, completely explored, no longer relevant, or otherwise. Ask the player of the character you have the bond with if they agree. If they do, mark XP and write a new bond with whomever you wish. So, does anyone feel like their bonds were explored?
I'm just getting him to look at mine now.
Sure. Once we've done this, we'll talk about what we're going to do for this session. Just wanted to get the level advancement and stuff out of the way.
I think I may have explored the one about respecting Frederick for his dedication to his craft. I think because his craft got us out of a very sticky situation where we needed to build a boat and stuff.
Right. Sure, that's fair. Do you agree, Frederick? Matthias, do you agree with that assessment? Wonder if we're muted here. Am I muted? I'm not muted, right?
Maybe.
Ah, your headset is hanging out. Okay, gotcha. Cool.
Or challenged, or if I'm just like, I still respect him. But,
yeah, I don't know if it was challenged. Yeah. Cool. Sure. So let's continue having a look here. Has everybody had a chance to look over their bonds?
I think possibly, I don't know how much the this new dark forest has like appeared for my character to know about yet, but if I know anything about that, it could potentially fulfill my bond with Ife.
And what was your bond with Eve?
It was the Ife is destined to greatness because of their magic.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think you definitely know about the forest. Ite, would you? I mean, I think it would be pretty hard to conceal the fact that you had a young dragon with you on the way back home, right?
oh yeah, I forgot about the young dragon. Yeah.
Yeah, and whether it's destined to great, whether that's great goodness or great like badness, I guess,
Great badness.
might not be so great for the village.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god, I forgot I did that. I'm sorry.
So, do you wanna cross that one out and write a new bond?
Yes.
Also, remember to mark XP.
I don't think I learned secrets about herbs, and I don't think I learned a lot about trees.
Yeah, not a lot, right? Like maybe you explored it, but not you haven't resolved it yet. Okay, Alex, do you feel like any of your bonds have been resolved?
Uh, no, not quite.
Okay, gotcha.
I guess I kind of did. I will protect Arca from themselves, but then I also felt like I orchestrated that because I was like, hey, Alex, you should go climb the tree. And then Alex climbed the tree.
Yeah, so is that really protecting them for themselves? Or but like was that wasn't in character though, right?
No, yeah, I was just like, I feel like if the people in the party, our foolish herbalist would climb the tree.
Right.
And then I caught said foolish herbalist when they fell.
Yeah.
I see how it is.
Making
You're all my
yourself
puppets.
look good. Okay, well maybe I don't know, maybe that's not completely resolved yet then.
Also, like, it's a fun one.
Yes, indeed. Okay.
I've got my new one for Ithay now, which is Ithay the Gentle needs protection from themselves.
We've got two bonds. I'm protecting Arca from themselves, and you're protecting Ithay from herself.
A lot of protecting going on. Yeah.
I could rewrite my trigger belief. We could get a whole chain going.
Yeah, right. All right. So while we wait for Matthias here, let's continue to the journal keeper should read the contents of their journal from this session to the group while everyone looks at the mapper's map or scrapbook. So let's have a look at the map. Does everybody have this document? I think it looks like everybody's here.
Yeah. It's working.
Yay.
Oh, you're back. Okay, good. Alright, so there was a bond with Frederick that had to be resolved. What was that again?
I respect Frederick for his dedication to his craft.
That's resolved.
Because you built a boat.
I can also keep it.
Oh.
But I can keep it. I don't mind.
No, I found it. Yeah, like you saw me actually do something.
Yeah.
And
Or I feel like maybe what I'm thinking more of is ours is resolved from your end, because from your end, you wanted forgiveness from Ithay for stealing wood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's more it, right? I
Yeah.
think that one is actually resolved. Yeah. Okay. So maybe write in a new belief instead of that one.
Yeah.
And I'm just realizing now I didn't write a poem about the last session. Oh no. I'm such a bad
Oh, no.
GM. Oh.
Quick, let's haiku about rain dragons.
Oh.
You're gonna have to ad-lib poetry.
Oh, I cannot ad-lib a haiku. I'm sorry.
I did that before.
Ad-lib. A haiku.
Ad-libbing's like my
I'm
favorite
sorry.
thing.
Oh my god, that was just totally the first two lines of a haiku. I cannot add. Wait, I cannot. Oh no, it wasn't. It was so close there.
It's way harder to write one in English than it is in Japanese.
Oh, I've got one.
Mm-hmm.
Rain dragons are the worst. They washed me right down a river. I got really wet.
Yay! I guess you get XP now?
I get the whole town.
You have to think what a new pun to say would be.
Yes. So I'll let
I
you.
just killed everyone, so that's by inviting small baby dragons into the area, and now we have a muck dragon infestation.
Not muck dragon, dark dragon.
Oh,
Muck
sorry,
dragon was
Blackbear.
the thing
The
that
worst.
ate the sheep, or sorry, mountain goat. The thing that ate the mountain goat. That was the muck dragon. It would be
Oh
a
my
lot
God,
more
awful.
problems if you had a muck dragon infestation. Because they would just be like turning the whole village into swamp and being like eating all of the livestock and stuff.
Wow, that's a good thing I didn't bring those guys around.
Yes,
It's a
yes.
good thing it's only dark dragons.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Okay. Well, let's carry on then. Now that we've resolved the poetry part of this session, to the journal. So please read your journal entry, and then I'll take a look at the picture here of this wonderful
Awesome.
map.
It's kind of 2 pages.
Okay, that's fine. Read it out.
Okay. Our journey begins with a simple question. Windy roads to our destination are the tantalizing fickle peaks of the Forsaken Crags. Frederick opts for the crags, believing they may yield the wood he seeks. Alas, no one has the heart to tell the poor, absent-minded Frederick that few trees dare grow on these sheer rock faces. Who are we to spurn a man's dedication towards his fine craft, even if he sometimes procures his wares in a questionable manner? Regardless, the weather is pleasant as we traverse the Forsaken Crags, much less cloying than summer, much less punishing than in winter. Arca takes the lead on the first step in our adventures and discovers some mountain goats, as well as a huge chasm in the rock. The mountain goats bleat and scatter as soon as they bellow an echoic cry of Arca, followed in quick succession by an enthusiastic call of Crogambush. Taking up the rear, Frederick navigates and discovers some odd structures carved into the mountain, adorned by numerous statues. Croquembouche goes quiet, lagging behind as she takes in the sight, her previous cheery whimsy meeting to contemplation. Knowing of some gnomish lore and cultural practices, Ithay has a feeling she understands what troubles her, so Ithay places a comforting hand on her shoulder and reminds her that in life, one best not to count the moments, but rather make the moments count. Ithay hopes will through the journey to weave a rich tapestry of adventure. But oh, those goddamn mountain goats. Upon making camp, we sit down to some of the finest beer bread Ithay has ever tasted. Croquembouche is truly destined to be the finest baker. Upon waking after a pleasant first day of travel, the weather turns for the worse, and we wake to quite the steady torrent fills the fast-flowing river near camp. Meanwhile, rain dragons seek shelter under mushrooms. Ithay and Croquembouche scramble to the high bank and turn around to find Arca and Frederick lost to the vicious current. However, while Ithay and Croquembouche can no longer see Frederick, they do hear a faint, "I've carried you this far, now you can carry me." Ithay takes in a run down the river, but is swiftly overtaken by Croquembouche riding a mountain goat. A second goat looks up, watching as the clouds part, shepherded by sheepish cloud dragons. The rain clears, leaving blue skies, calmer waters, and a very damp-looking adventurer lying flat on the ground. The group decided to build a boat with Frederick's wood, Croquembouche's paddle, and Arca's help. Things are indeed looking up. However, misfortune falls upon the party in the form of a hungry Dandian. The goat consumes a whole 4 rations worth of food, and all the flour. Not only are we gluten-free, but we must also suffer an evening of flatulence. While the guilty Croquembouche takes watch, she at least gets to witness the beautiful mating call of the muck dragon into the wee hours of the morning. We encounter said muck dragons in the wetlands, who munch on termites. Croquembouche attempts to mimic their mating call, however, her call is not received very well, and as a result, poor Dandian is eaten. Although Ithay is not sure who is fared worse, it or the dragons who have just consumed a gassy, unpredictable goat. With Dandian, Croquembouche also loses all of her belongings. But as they make camp, Ethay and Frederick make bonds over bread and wood, and a hearty feast of eggs is enjoyed by the group of adventurers. The forest is so close we can smell it. On our last day of travel, Ethay discovers a dark dragon, a strange chimera with owl eyes, and that was all I wrote.
Okay, great. So thank you. Thanks to both of you
That
for
was
the
fun,
map
thank you.
and the journal. And you both get to mark XP because you did that job. Cool. So once bonds have been updated and the journal has been read, answer these 3 questions as a group. Oops, there's more than 3 questions. Let's answer these 4 questions as a group. Okay. Did we visit a new and wonderful location?
Yes.
Okay, mark XP. Did we overcome a notable obstacle to our journey?
Yes.
I would say so.
Okay, everyone marks XP. Did we make a new friend?
Well,
We
I
did.
did. Well, we did. We made Dandian.
Yeah.
Yes,
My friend
exactly.
just got eaten.
I would say yes. Unfortunately, one of them was eaten. Did we record a tale worth telling?
Yes.
All right.
Definitely.
Okay, so everyone marks XP for those 4 things. You'll get 4 XP. So we have finished 1 session. So that means I advance in level to level 2, which means I get 1 extra move. Yay. 1 extra hold to spend. Alright, so that is the end of session move. Does anyone have the ability to level up? You need to have 10 plus your current levels. You need to have 11 XP to level. Okay. That's fine. So then, what we can do for the next session is we can continue with the same characters if you like, or we can make new characters if you like. Which one do you want to do? Who wants to continue?
Yeah, I'd like to continue.
Okay, so everybody's on board with continue. All right. So yeah, I just wanted to ask because we didn't really play this sort of standard way because we resolved the whole journey in 1 session, and so you've kind of resolved your motivations, and so you'll have to kind of like figure it out on your own now because it's not part of the character creation anymore. So I just wanted to give you the opportunity if you wanted to make a new character. But if that's all right, then we'll carry on. The next question I had was, do you want to stick with the green Eugene or switch to a different Eugene for this session? Which is like basically a change in what special moves I can do to influence the story and kind of like the tone of the story. I kind of have an idea for a red one, but I don't know.
Would it help you playtest if you did the red one?
Yeah, I guess, because it'd be a different... I mean, it kind of like helps either way, but I would say the red one is a little bit more helpful. So I guess I'll switch to the red one. I just need to come up with a name for them. So let's see here.
What's the switch in tone there? What to be aware of?
What's that? Your mic's sort of breaking up, I'm afraid.
Tone there? Switch in tone there? That one should be aware of?
Oof. Your mic isn't coming through properly. You might need to reconnect it or something. Can't hear what you're saying.
I think he was asking what the switch in tone.
Oh, so the Red Dragon, what they're all about is, so under Eugene Moose, it says, the Red Dragon is about fighting, battle, war, heroes, competition, struggle, intense training, reversals of fortune, challenge, growth, worthy rivals, monster hunting, dungeon exploration, and hack and slash. So
We're all gonna die.
you may all die,
Pretty much.
but kind of what I have in mind is more like, it's more like we're switching to like the Pokemon version of this series, because like now you're gonna be like on a travel and you have to go compete and like you're gonna meet rivals and yeah,
Cool.
that kind of thing. So
Bush, we may come across a baking competition that I think for you are destined for greatness.
yes,
Awesome.
there'll definitely be some kind of competition involved.
How's this now?
Good,
Yeah.
excellent.
Better?
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I will be, let's see here. Ivus, yes. Ivus the Red Rugine. So we had our previous Rugine, who was don't tell me I didn't write it. No, I did write it down. Akur. And now I am Ivus the Red Rugine. So I think it's like we get a start of the session, and we have like we get like a scene of the village of Seawall, and we see, people are going about their business in the town, but above the town we see looming this dark forest filled with giant trees, and it's kind of encroaching on people's like houses and stuff. Like you see that there's like these huge like sequoia trees like growing out of someone's yard, and they're like looking up at it like and then there's like another scene of like there's like probably like a dog that's like running from the forest because there's a dark dragon like chasing it around, and they're like, the dog's like trying to get away desperately, and like there's like a housewife with like a pot like shaking it at the dark dragon. And so yeah, we see that there's like various problems going on in town because this giant forest has appeared next to the town. And we see that like all of the characters have been gathered in the town square, or like what passes for a town square in this village, just like a little clearing in front of the town hall. And there's like the alderman Gustav, and he's talking to all of you, and he's like, now I understand there have been some benefits to the new forest, such as plenty of wood. However, the dragons and the growth are out of hand, and we need to do something about this. Ithay, you are responsible for bringing this trouble to our village. You and all of your friends here off on your journey, well, that's That's your right. That's what you had to do. I understand that, but you've gone too far with this forest. So, all of you, I'm tasking all of you to go to the capital and speak to the king. Bring our plight to him, to his royal majesty, and he will certainly deal with it. So that is kind of the premise. And we see Akur, and like Akur's like looking into their magic ball, and they're like, "Oh, I wonder how I can help them make their way to the capital." And then like you see that like from outside the frame, there's just like this like elbow that appears, and it's like and like shoves Akur aside. He like goes flying. He's like, "Ah!" And then Ivor like busts in and is like, "Get out of the way! I'm gonna show these layabouts how to really get things done. They're gonna need to get toughened up if they want to get to the capital and talk to the king, and I'm gonna show them how to do it." And then like you see in the background, Akur is just like, "Oh, you're so mean," and like like gathers up their books and is like walking into the other room, like rubbing their shoulder.
I'm totally picturing little like birds.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So Ivor is in control now. Little do our protagonists know. So we should do the start of session move, because that's how you play the game. Yeah.
I also feel like this may be the first time any of you have seen a sheepish-looking dragon, which I feel like is a very maybe a they.
Yeah, right. Definitely. Okay, so when you start a new session of play, the Eugene restores their special move hold to the amount indicated by their level. So it's their level +1, so I have 3 hold. If the Eugene recites a poem about the events of the previous session, they take +1 hold. But I didn't do that, so I don't get +1 hold. Then, one player should volunteer to be the mapper for the session, and another should volunteer to be the journal keeper. So who wants to be the mapper and who wants to be the journal keeper? Are we going to stick with the same roles, or are we going to change it up?
Let's mix it up.
All right. Yeah,
if someone wants to be the journal keeper, they're welcome to.
Okay. Do we have a volunteer for the journal keeper? Someone want to write the story of our adventure?
I'm down.
Okay, Alex, you are the journal keeper. Do we have a volunteer for the mapper? You don't have to draw a map. We can also do the Pinterest thing.
Like Lou set the bar so friggin' high.
Yeah, it's like, oh, like I don't need to do it, guys, but if you don't get on my level, I'm gonna be a little bit disappointed, honestly. Well, all right. Well, maybe we'll ask you to continue then, Lou, if you don't mind continuing to doodle.
Yes, that's okay.
All right. So next, we're gonna just start the session because there's nothing else we gotta do for that. All right. So, you're in town. And I think you all collected some items that you brought back from the forest, right? So I think, Matthias, you probably end up... You brought back your fishing rod, right? Like or the wood for your fishing rod. So you were able to catch some fish. So if you want to add some fish to your inventory, that might be a thing.
Yeah, fish
Uh huh.
have uses.
Yeah. Let's say you have like 2 uses of fish.
Yeah.
All right. And next.
I ended up with absolutely nothing to my name when I returned from the.
Yeah, but you were. I also said you were able to start selling, like those,
Yeah.
pastries that were like medicinal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you probably get like, let's see here,
Some healing
maybe.
pastries.
What's that?
Healing pastries.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
you get like 3 healing pastries and 5 coins from that. And Alex's character, Arca, was just able to get some healing remedy for Grandpa, right?
That is correct.
All right. So maybe you get a healing remedy. Like maybe you can just like restore your herbalist kit that I think was like lost along the way or something.
Oh yeah, lots of uses.
Yeah. So you can restore that to your max. And Ithay, I don't know. I mean,
I think
you
just a lot of shame.
you made a giant forest.
Yeah.
uh, did the dragon teach you anything? Did you learn something useful from it?
I mean, I think it taught me some lessons, but I don't think they were the lessons I was expecting to come away from the forest with.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. All right, so I don't think you get anything to start the session. So if there's
Where was the little list of like stuff you could buy? Is that in
it's under equipment. It is on page 32. Or sorry, yeah, not 32. It doesn't start there. It's on page 31 it starts. Yeah. So if you want to buy some more dungeon rations, you can get 5 uses for 3 coins. But there are other things you could buy as well. That is on page 32, in fact. So,
Might resupply my green brick rations.
yeah, I think that's fair.
With most of the coins, so all good.
Right. So yeah, everybody just do your shopping. Buy the things you want to buy for your trip if you can afford anything.
This is a shore town, by the way. I don't. If, I vaguely remember it being at the coast, but I'm not certain if.
Yes,
I found that.
it is. It's on the water. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's like a river going down into the sea near here. So that's why you were able to sell your boats. All right.
Do you reckon I can? I think last time I paid like 2 coins for that camp oven,
Right.
and do you reckon that 3 coins is enough for some to stock up my flour? Like for 5 coins, I can have baking equipment again.
You probably only need to spend like 2 coins to get the flour, because that's like a raw ingredient. So yeah.
Cool.
And you gonna buy some more beer?
I don't think I can afford beer this time.
Okay. All right. So, is there anything else anybody wants to do in town before you leave?
I think I'm good.
All right. So yeah, if you want to check out the steading moves, these are like things you can do in town. On page 23 it starts. But if you don't have anything you need to do, then we'll continue with the journey. So, yeah, I think we're going to, instead of undertaking a curious journey, because you're headed for the capital, you're on official business, so you're probably not going to be taking the weird back road this time. It's probably going to be more of a direct route to the capital. So I think we're going to use the travel move instead of undertake a curious journey. So the travel move, it says, when you travel by a known or safe route, even through dangerous territory, ask the Eugene how long it should take you to reach your destination. 4, 6, or 8 journey clock segments, and roll plus nothing. So I would say the capital, let's say 6 segments. 6 segments. Oops, that's the wrong layer I'm on. Go. So this is out of 6. Alright, and somebody has to roll for the party for how you do on your journey. Alright.
I
Alex.
suppose it's the one who got us into this.
That's fair. You got the party into this, so go ahead and roll, Lord.
Watch me get us even further into it.
Yeah.
So it's a roll at 2d6?
Yep. 2d6 plus nothing.
Oh. I got a 10.
Okay. Alright, so on a 7 plus, you reach your destination without mishap, and the Eugene will decide a thing you see along the way for every 2 segments on the journey clock. Yes. So, let's see here. I forgot to open this up. Open link. Yeah, okay, here we go. Okay. So I think the first thing you see is you pass through, probably passing through some grasslands. You head east from the town of Seawall, and you're passing through grasslands. You see these. It's summer now. So you see lots of fields of flowers, and there's like some sheep in the fields eating, and you see like some sun dragons that are like playing out in the field in the sunlight, and they've got like their fins like extended to sort of like take in all of the sunlight. And yeah, maybe one of them's like on top of a sheep's head, like jumping up and down, and the sheep's just like, bah. And like, you carry along your way, and you pass a old keep. It's a keep that was built by the royal family some time ago to defend the area, but it hasn't been used seriously in a very long time, and there's nothing. There's like 1 or 2 soldiers who live there, and like they just sort of say hello when you pass by, but they don't really have any business with you. And this is maybe called like Greenfield Keep or something like that. So the next thing you see along the way ooh. Yeah, okay. So the next thing you see along the way is you start traveling out of the grasslands, and you move into some highlands. So the grasslands, there starts to be some hills that you start walking up and down, and there's like rocky outcrops. The grass starts to get a little bit more sparse, and there's like some like mist that's forming off in the distance that you can see maybe in the morning when you're traveling, and you see that there is a let's see yeah, there's a Highland dragon. And the Highland dragon, it like basically blends into the environment. Like it kind of has like grass growing all over it, and there's like these little like pools of water that like are here and there on its body. And it's kind of got like rocky spines on its back, and it just sort of like if it's just sitting there, then like you could mistake it for just being a part of the environment. But actually, it's quite perturbed because there's a haywire golem that is like it's kind of like built out of like the Highland rocks. It's kind of like this sort of granite golem, and it's trying to fight the Highland dragon. And the Highland dragon is having none of it, and it just sort of like gets up, and like the golem's like punching it on its arm, but then it just kind of goes like this, so the golem goes flying, and there's these rocks that land off in the fields. Maybe one of them lands in like a little lake or something, and you see a splash off the distance. And the third thing you see on your way is a... Ooh. Yes. So you travel down away from the highlands into like a sort of like deciduous forest. It's like very like you move out of the highlands, it starts to get very warm. Like there's more humidity. And you can feel the summer heat more and more. And there's like sort of a forest that has like birch in it and stuff. And there's like a lot of like waterfowl in these like little ponds in the forest. But the highway is like well built through here, so it's not hard to travel through. And you come to a town called Aldergrove, and Aldergrove is a elven town. So why don't you tell me one thing you see there? Each of you tell me one, or first someone tell me one thing you see there that indicates how old this town is.
I can think of something.
Okay, go ahead.
So I think in this in the center of town, there's like a dais that perhaps is used for festivals or like performances and stuff. But what it actually is a tree that they've felled, and the rings on this tree date back so many years. It's almost impossible to count how old this tree is.
Right, and so like this is did the tree recently fall, or is this just like a stump that's been around for a long time?
I
In
think
the
it's like
center of town?
I picture it being like a large stump,
Okay.
kind of like that it's been there for some time. So it's like not only has it been there for not only can you count from the rings its age, but it appears to have been there for a long time as well.
Yeah, and maybe you see like two like elf kids with like wooden swords like fighting on top of this big stump, and like their uncles like looking
Totally.
on, just sort of impassively, like, oh yeah, whatever.
Explain. Yeah.
Okay, and someone else. How about Matthias? What does Frederick learn there about trees that he didn't already know before?
I think I think I imagine there's like this one sort of tree that preferably grows on larger rocks, like its roots envelop a huge rock,
Mm-hmm.
and it only seems to grow there, right? Like so, you only periodically or like certain spots you can see them, and I think this town has unusual number of them, and this confirms one of his theories. Like before, it could have just been like happenstance that this sort of tree only grows on a rock, then its roots go over its side and into the ground. But yeah, most curious.
So you
Where
just
does
like
it what does it get from this rock? Yeah.
so you just like writing down your notes about the tree, and then like there's probably like an elf that comes by and like looks at your notes and is like, oh, I see you've cataloged about 3% of the trees that are known to us elves. And he like pats you on the head and is like, keep up the good work. You might get to 5% before you die. And just like walks off.
Cock and Bouchon walks up to Frederick and she just rolls her eyes at him. She was like, elves.
All right, cool. So the rest of the journey is sort of uneventful. You continue along the highway and you reach the capital, which we'll call, um, let's see, hmm. Let's call the capital Drakevale. City of Drakevale. And since we got here so fast, which was, no issue really, because we rolled a 10 on our travel move, we can actually go ahead and do the steading creation procedure just to see how it works. So let's go to page 11 in the text. So the steading is a city. And it will have I want to say it has a guard and a market, and it's connected to seawall and to Alder Grove. Okay. So, the government. Let's say this is... Well, he's already said it's a monarchy, so it's a monarchy. And the environment. I think this is like... Maybe... we came out of the woods, and I think this is now like... Maybe in the mountains, because it's a vale.
Can we roll the government thing and decide like what maybe that can flavor like how the king, what sort of like king it is? Do you know what I mean? Or how
sure, like if who the king has to deal with.
Yeah, or even how they're, you know, if it's if it's the elder one, they're the super, like, you know, rule, like they're a super older king, or if it's a military chief thing, they're, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, okay, so go ahead and give me a D10, and let's see what we get.
I got a 1, so it says rule by
the elders.
By
yeah.
the elders.
Okay, so it's like the king, and there's like a council of elders that rules of the king.
Probably all his stupid elves.
Yeah, they're just like got this big book of trees. It's like locked up. It's like, oh, did you want to see this? Oh, well, maybe someday, once you're old enough. It's like, I wouldn't let my son take a look on this until he's at least 250 years old. Okay. So the environment, he says like mountains. So maybe like, maybe there is like it's kind of like you go up into the mountains to reach the capital, and there's like 3 passes that come together here, and above it is like this tall peak that has been like carved into the likeness of a dragon, and it's like looming over the city. So yeah, I think that that's maybe the sort of pride of the city, is that they've created this large sculpture. And representative building. Does someone want to roll this, a D10?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead. An 8?
Yep.
Okay, so it has a big library. Maybe has some information about trees. And the specialty goods of the area. Let's roll a D10 again.
Do you want to go, Alice?
Sure. Nine.
A 9. Okay, it makes tools and equipment. So maybe... yeah, maybe the library is very well stocked with like fine paper, and it has like they make like the best stationery in the land in this capital city here. So if you want to get a really good pen or some really good ink or really good paper, then you come to Drakevale. And I think that like it makes sense, right? Because they go around like giving all this money to all these different towns to have people go on these journeys, and then like people buy paper to like write down their stories with. So that's why they're so into these the stationery production in town. And a threat. So, somebody roll a d8.
Go, Lauren.
Oh, cool.
Go.
Got a 2.
A 2. Internal strife. Okay.
It's those crotchety elvish elders.
Yeah, no, I think it's probably like... Yeah, it's probably like a thing where like you can't get into the library unless you're like 100 years old. And people are really upset about this. So people want...
I wonder maybe if the king isn't very old for some reason, and he's not even allowed to access the, the library.
They make a special allowance for the king where he can go in once he's 60, but it's...
I was envisioning like those speakeasy bars where there's like a little slit and like you gotta knock on the door and then it'll open, and then like you have to get the passcode if you want to get into the library.
And it's just like a really old question about history.
Yeah.
Who won the Battle of Knoxville?
Can the library be like in the mountain, like built into the mountain that the dragon things like carved on top of?
Yeah,
cool.
And like it's probably like the dragon is like holding like a big book or something, right? Like cool. All right. And the next thing is the scene painting. So the Eugene should ask the players some leading questions in order to establish the look and atmosphere of the setting. Work from the details you've already established together and strive to tease out interesting details that tie the characters to their environment. So, for example, what in the town square tells you that the city is ruled by the elderly? What signs have the monster attacks left in their wake? What is the prized centerpiece of the garden at the center of town? So I think that one question would be, so I think Arca, when you come into town, when you enter the market, what is the most popular thing for sale here? Aside from the stationery, of course.
I feel like it would have to be some like really exotic fruit pies. From like fruit they import from like Aldergrove.
Okay.
Like some really fancy. You can only find there have this like ripe summer fruit.
All right.
It's like just coming into season.
Yeah, because like you can't really grow fruit up in the mountains here, right? So yeah, there's probably like you probably see like there's all these people lined up to buy fruit pies, and there's like an elf with like a chef's hat on, and they have like a big box full of like different fruits in it, and there's like an oven in the back, and you notice that the people who are lined up are all lined up in order of age. So if like if like an older person ever comes by, they can just butt in line in front of the younger people. So there's like a little kid who's been like waiting there like all morning, and they're just like, like, I want the fruit pie. Yeah. All right. So yeah, maybe Frederick, what signs do you see of the strife around the library?
Um, I think they're students camping out. Right? They've like actually built up like they basically they're squatting in front of the library entrance.
Yeah.
And preventing anybody else from going in, and they've got like Occupy Library going on.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh no, we won't go. Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have like little signs like.
But they're probably all like 65 and 70 and stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's like a 60-year-old student, and they've got like a sign that's just like books for the young. Nice. And one more question. Ife, why don't you tell us what is the major event or the major festival that happens here in the summer?
Oh, you're breaking my heart. I gotta choose. Oh, I kind of feel like it has. I really want it to be a pie competition, but I also really want it to be like a wood cutting competition. And
well,
the wood cutting and pie competition.
Oh, it could be both. Yeah, maybe it's just like
the ovens to bake the pies.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so like I think
it's like it's a yeah, like it's a like a triathlon of of wood cutting and pie cooking and maybe pie eating.
Yeah, but you have to be like super old in order to be on the pie eating team because only the old people get to eat all the pies.
Yeah.
It's like there's like a 20-year-old chef, and then like a 15-year-old woodcutter, and then there's like an 85-year-old pie eater on the team, who's just like,
I love it.
All right, cool. So, yeah, nice. So, I think then. Yeah. So, I think you come into town and you see all these scenes about what's happening in the library and then the upcoming pie competition, and you probably go to present yourself at the castle to go talk to the king. And there is like an elf at the door who's like sitting in this like big comfy chair, and then there's like a kid. It's probably like a dwarven kid. They're like really really short, and they're sitting at the foot of the chair, and they have like a little axe with them, and the kid comes up to you and is like, "Who are you, and what business do you have with the king and his council?"
Why, we are on official business. We were sent here to advocate for a tragic accident that has befallen our hometown. A dark forest has somehow erupted and is taking over our home.
And then the elf, who's probably like, I think he's probably got like a big like sun hat on because it's in the summer, and he just like reaches down and pokes the dwarf on the shoulder and says, "Oh, okay." He says, "Tell these travelers that dark forests simply do not appear. They are made by dragons. We all know it. I've seen it at least 4 times in my life." And then the dwarf is like, "The master says that dark forests do not simply appear. They are made by dragons, and he has seen them at least 4 times in his life. Therefore, and then the elf is like, therefore, they must be withholding some important information. You must be withholding some important information."
Withholding is a rather strong verb. I would perhaps prefer forgot. I forgot that a dark dragon indeed conjured up the forest that is plaguing our good hometown.
Yeah.
But thank you for reminding me of the origins.
And the elf says, "Ask them where they hail from." And then the dwarf says, "And where do you hail from?"
What's the name of our hometown again?
Seawall.
What was it?
Seawall.
Seawall.
So, Seawall. We hail from Seawall. Perhaps you've heard of it.
And the elf says, "Oh yes, been there at least 4 times in my life." And then the dwarf says, "The master has been there at least 4 times in his life." And
yep.
And then the elf says, "So you want some kind of audience with His Majesty in order to address problems, no doubt, of your own creation?"
We would indeed appreciate counsel, and I feel like you would appreciate the fact that we come in for. I feel like your life is constructed around quadrangles and quadrants and things that come in for. Having been to Seawall 4 times, and having witnessed dark forest being created 4 times.
So I think this is gonna be a probably like parley you're gonna do here.
Oh, god damn it. Cool. My charisma's not that high.
Yeah. Okay. So
I know I always make these characters that try and lie out of their buttholes and then have no charisma.
Alright, so when you want to impress or entice someone into a course of action, say what you want them to do or not to do, give them a reason, and roll plus charisma. So, what do you want them to do and why?
If they would let us pass to counsel with the king. And I think we have a very good reason, for people will be in a spot of bother if we cannot fix this accidental dark forest that happened to be conjured by this dragon.
Okay, so your leverage is like the city is a part of the kingdom, therefore it must be saved.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
Go and roll charisma.
Awesome.
What did you get?
Oh, I got a
7.
I got a 7.
All right. So, on a 7+, if the reason is good enough, they'll do it until some fact or action betrays the reason you gave them. On a 7-9, they'll also want some reassurance up front. A reason might be a threat, a promise, a bribe, an ideal, a bond, or something else entirely. So, what reassurance can you give them up front?
I can bribe them with pastries, healing pastries.
Oh, yeah. Or is this like Arca gives them like something to help with their back pain?
Hold up a green brick. Who doesn't want this?
A gift basket of green bricks and pastries.
Yeah. If you like prevent like a gift basket.
Fragrant wood shavings.
Yeah. So the elf looks down and says, "Oh, what's that they have there? Tell them to leave it here, and they may pass." And then the dwarf says, like, dwarfs holding up their hands to like take the basket, and they're like, "The master says to give me the basket, and you may pass."
Indeed, take this basket of Seawall's finest offerings. Imagine if Seawall didn't exist. Wouldn't you be sad? You wouldn't have these green bricks and these pastries.
The elf is just like ignoring you while they're like munching on a pastry, and like the dwarf's like holding up the basket so they can like reach down and like grab the pastries and eat them. So you pass by and there's like these like crumbs like falling down the steps. And you enter in, like there's like some big guards that like open the gates for you, and you enter into the castle. And there is a chamberlain who comes in and ushers you forward to the audience hall. And when you enter the audience hall, you see that a group has already budged in line in front of you. And I'm going to spend one hold here to do one of my special moves. So this is Fateful Encounter. Spend one hold to introduce a worthy rival for a PC. Have their player describe what it is about their rival that excites their competitive passions, and highlight one of their PC stats based on their response. When the PC rolls that stat against their rival, they take +1 until the end of the session. So I think this has got to be like Crokenbush's rival, right? Like,
I totally want it to be like a group of 4 like travelers from another village that each of our rivals.
Oh, like they like everybody gets a rival.
Yeah, like they're from a village off to the east somewhere that's like having like a similar distance to ours, and they're having like dragon forest troubles.
And all the traits are our opposites, so it's like the clever herbalist, the pessimistic.
Yeah.
Yes, totally. But I think their leader is your rival, Crokenbush, and you gotta tell me something about this rival that excites your competitive passions.
I think that it's another like gnomish woman, and I don't think there's many around in Seawall anyway. Like maybe there's more off to the east somewhere. So I think perhaps and she's probably dressed in some kind of awesome like baker's outfit. She's got her like hat on and stuff. She's probably got stuff there with her, but I think it's just the fact that there's another like young like gnome woman who's, you know, also just happens to be a baker, and she's like, what? It's like that's her whole she's kind of had to do for people to know her in the past, so it's confronting for her. Like, what?
Yeah, okay, sure. So it's just like you're both in the same position, and this is what excites your combative passion. So I guess your stat I'm gonna highlight is probably like I'll highlight intelligence for you. So you get +1 when you roll with intelligence until the end of the session.
It's my lowest stat, so I guess that could be good.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we take a break here, since you've reached the capital, and
can I think up a name for her while we're on a break?
Yeah. Everybody, actually, you know what? Why doesn't everybody think about the name of their rival? Because like everybody's gonna have like a rival in the other group. All right. Cool. All right. See everybody in like 10 minutes. Okay. Hey everyone. So, I've decided that your rivals are from the town of Treewall. Um,
Awesome.
So, and I also was thinking, like, maybe I should, oh, but that one's really good too. I was like, maybe I should spend all my hold to give you more +1s, but I think I'll do that, like, let's see. You tell me about, like, what, or who your rivals are, and based on who I think is the most interesting, I will give another one of you a +1 to your stat. That way I have one hold left to spend, because there's one more move I want to use in this session. So, Alex, why don't you go ahead and tell me about your rival?
Alrighty. I was typing up the journal, so I didn't have much time to think about who they were. But they're definitely called okra.
Perfect.
So named Arca after some herb I found on the internet. So okra's like the perfect fit.
Okra the herbalist. Yeah, and they're like really wise, right? Because you're foolish, so they have to be wise.
Yeah, they've definitely got like the long curled beard going on.
Okay. Yeah, alright. So, what about Ethe? Who is your rival?
A little bit awkward because I recognize my rival, my original hometown back with the Dragonkin.
Oh.
His name is Pata the Champion. It's Pata.
Okay, Pata the Champion.
And he and I have squared off before, and funnily enough, as his name would lead one to believe, he won. So, and he is the antithesis of myself. His scales are white and glorious and glow and are imbued with hedge magic and light.
What an arsehole.
Yeah. And everyone tells stories of his grand escapades and just amazingness.
Okay. Everyone calls him Champ.
Exactly. Exactly. I can't stand him. But I guess underneath all of, like, I can't even call it humility because he's just such a dick, but he is rather pessimistic. He's that kind of person who's like, oh no, I'm not gonna win, and then they just win, and it's really frustrating.
He's all about the humble brag.
Yeah, exactly. I can't stand him.
All right. Okay. And finally, Frederick, who is your rival?
Yeah, I think this is he's called Cedric.
Cedric, yeah.
Right. And he's the rich son of a very industrious lumber baron, right?
Okay.
Nouveau rich type of family, and like he's never had to lift a finger himself. Instead, he's got that swagger, that certain je ne sais quoi. He's goes around making deals in his father's name and is just an all around pretty face, and is Yeah.
Is he
right in
like
the moment, knows how to read a room, all that kind of stuff.
Right,
high
right.
charisma, high wisdom.
Right. So he's like very personable.
Yeah, buddies with everyone.
And is he like is it like his dad is like the mayor of Treewall? And like,
or like one of the richest merchants.
Yeah, right.
Something like that, right?
One of the richest merchants.
People call him like he's not nobility, but people call him the lumber baron.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So.
My
yes,
rival's called Baklava, by the way.
Baklava. Okay.
Yeah.
Baklava the baker. And like, do you want to add like a few more details?
I think she's dressed. I guess I'm actually, my trait is thorough. I think that I rolled, but I don't know that I've really demonstrated that at all yet, except for like thoroughly getting myself into ridiculous situations. So I guess that means she's going to be like sloppy or haphazard or something like that, half-assed. I think maybe she's the type of like cook that just like throws everything in and is super messy, but it all just turns out really good and it pisses me off. But I also kind of like the touch that she's dressed in very traditional like gnome outfit, so there's another reason for me not to like her, because she's knows shit about being a gnome that I might not know.
Right.
I love it. She sounds like that person who doesn't study and then gets like ducks.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. She's a master of improvisation, right? Okay. So
I hope that's a good challenge for you there, Kyle. All of those NPCs.
Yeah.
Right.
Okra, Pata, Cedric, and Baklava. So, seeing as you're probably going to be doing some woodworking, I think I will give you a +1 to your strength there, Frederick. Yeah. And it's probably like we like go back from like our commercial break on this show, and there's like a scene where our Red Eugene friend, who is like Ivor is like looking into the crystal ball that they've appropriated, and they're like, they're about to get an audience with the king. I can't have that. And he's just like goes over to like a shelf and like takes like these little like figurines off and like starts placing them around the crystal ball, and it's like all of a sudden this other party just like walks into the room, and they're like, you know, the exact opposite of you guys, and he's just like so what happens is that like you both approach at like the same time to the minister in charge of the audience, and the minister is like, oh, and I see you both have a desire for an audience with His Majesty. And then like it's probably Pata who steps up, and there's like this like sort of like ray of light coming down from like the window up on the wall. It's like illuminating their beautiful white scales, and they're like, oh yes, well, we do have a great problem in Treeball. And they go on to explain that there is a muck dragon from Three Hawk Swamp that has taken up residence outside of their town and is turning everything into wetlands.
Being possessed by a goat.
Exactly, right?
Did you say wetland? I've got a craft to sell you.
Yeah, and I think like Cedric is probably like, well, that won't be necessary, and and so basically what happens is that you both come and present your case to the minister, but the problem is that you've arrived at the same time, so they can't decide who's going to go speak to the king first, and they're like, oh well. Let me consult the procedural manual, and like they like take out like this big book and like look through it, and it's like, yes, and in case of village and dragons and it says here that you will proceed in order of seniority. And then they like tally up your ages, and they're like exactly the same. They're like, oh, they like looks over to like the king, and the king is like, and then one of like there's like a an elder like on the council that's like seated around the king. There's probably like chairs that are to the king's side. Or even like behind the king a little bit, and there's one of them that's like dressed in like suspiciously red robes, who like comes forward. He's like, I have an idea. In case that seniority does not decide the matter, perhaps they could participate in the pie competition. And then the other elders are like, oh yes, indeed. Like one of them's like, yes, it has been some time since we had outsiders make us a nice pie. Like they all start thinking about pies, and the king sort of like looks around and is like, okay. And this is like, I think this is King King Edward the Young. And he's like notable because he's like the youngest king that's been crowned in like the last century, and he's probably about like 75 years old, and he's like, oh well, it seems that my esteemed associates in the council have offered an excellent suggestion. I will see to your problems and refer them to my magus. However, the order must be decided by competition. And then it's like someone runs out with a little cart, and they hand like a series of rules to both like Baklava and also to Croquembouche, and they're like, you both look like chefs to me. Who will be manning the ovens?
Croquembouche shoves Frederick forward.
And yeah. Frederick was, I think Frederick was looking at the furniture and what kind of wood it was made out of in the room, right? And yes, what can I help you with?
And the servant like reaches under the cart and like pulls out an axe and like hands it to you. It's like splitting, hauling, fueling. These are your 3 duties.
And I think Frederick is, I pull out my own hand axe.
Mm-hmm.
I've already, come again, what do you want me to do? And
yeah, okay, and I think they like get really angry, and they're like, splitting, Hauling!
I'm cutting out again.
Fueling! So
I
it's
cut out again completely. Sorry.
okay. These are the things.
Ah, yes. I can do that. Both axes on the shoulder.
And then we like cut over to Cedric, and he has like this like finely engraved like, you know, like beautiful handle of the axe that he like produces from it's probably like he has like a page with him who's like got like this big backpack, and they like pull it out and like produce it to Cedric. He's like, I am also prepared. Okay, so the competition will happen like the next day. What do you want to do to prepare for the competition?
Croquembouche definitely wants Arca to help her to gather like some like extra special like ingredients, some like magic MSG herbs, various types of flavor enhancers.
I'm down for collecting magical drugs.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. Who's gonna be judging the competition?
Well, of course it's the Council of Elders, because then they get to eat all the pies, right?
I wonder if we could somehow like find out what sort of pies that they like.
Yeah.
Like what pies have won in the past. Like do some research.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could, but it'd be so hard to get into the library. You might need to get someone else to go inside for you. Someone very.
I wonder if.
I mean, I feel like Ithay might be quite old, but I don't know if Ithay is old enough.
How old do you think you are?
I feel like some 150 odd years.
You could probably get in then. They'd be like, oh, a bit young, but you may enter. They're like looking at your scales, like with like a magnifying glass. Yes, I see. And it's like, she's not lying. Open the door. Like.
I love it. It's like somebody checking your ID before you go in the club. Like,
yeah. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, why don't we use some moves here to resolve this stuff? Yeah. So these are steady moves. So I feel like what Croquembouche is doing is the supply move, which is on page 24. When you go to buy something with money on hand, if it's something readily available in the setting you're in, you can buy it at market price. If it's something special, beyond what's usually available here, or non-mundane, roll with charisma.
Well, I've got 1 gold coin.
Same here.
But I guess that could potentially buy some sort of nice berries or something.
or maybe the price is not monetary, right?
Yeah. Will I I'd like to try and get something like exotic. So shall I roll with charisma to
Yes.
see if I achieve that?
And Arca, you can aid with this if you like.
Of course.
So you're rolling with bonds with Croquembouche.
Oh man.
What did you get?
I got a 5 even with my +2.
Oh no. Oh no. So how did you do on
I got
your
a 13 on my 8.
All right. So it means that you get a 7 that you were looking for there.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Friendship.
The power of friendship.
I kind of like Arca slipping in some like quite healing herbs on the side.
Yes. Some extra special healing herbs. Yeah, okay. So that's fair. So why don't you like spend 2 stalks of your healing herbs there, Arca, and I think then Croquembouche can spend you can spend your 1 gold as well. So what is the thing that you get in the market? It's the special thing that Arca has scouted for you.
What's a stereotypical fun thing that? Prunes.
Prunes for the old, yeah. Fair, very fair.
It's really, but like some sort of rare, they're dried plums essentially. So some sort of really nice, like dried plums. Maybe they're like something ridiculous, like 100-year-old like preserved plums or something.
Yeah, they've like been dried for like 100 years using the assistance of sun dragons to like fan them with like extra sun rays, so they're especially yummy.
And it's meant to be some sort of poetic statement about how age like enhances your like character and personality.
Yeah, there's like a poem about it. Yeah, definitely. All right, cool. And so Ithay, you've made it inside of the library, and I think you are probably doing so maybe you need to talk to the librarian. And you could roll to seek them out. So this is basically like the circles roll in Burning Wheel.
Nice.
So you roll plus bonds. So at the moment you're rolling with nothing. So you just roll 2d6.
Awesome. By the way, I'm feeling like rather flammable in the library. I feel like it's very dusty and papery. Ooh, I got a 10.
All right. So on a 10 plus, they could do what you need, and they aren't hard to find. So you come into the library, and it's like there's windows, but they're like very high up because this is like very fortified, so nobody can get in. And there's like guards posted outside of all of the windows, and they all have like very long gray beards. It's probably like they're all dwarves, and they're like wearing special like library guard uniforms where it's like they have like a doublet on, but then like they have like a little cape, but it's designed in such a way that there's like gold writing on the back of the cape to indicate that like they got the special job inside the library. But you got in normally, so they're not going to give you any trouble. There's like very long tables, sort of chandeliers up in the hanging from the roof, and these huge bookshelves everywhere and you sort of come in and you're like looking around like, oh, where do I even start? But then you see this like man, or maybe it's a woman, maybe it's like a let's see what could be interesting here. Gonna look at the character creation. Maybe it is. Yeah, it's like a super like old goblin. And yeah, they have like this big like robe that's it's a little bit too big for them, but like they probably inherited it from someone else. And it's like dragging along the ground. And they're like walking over and like trying to avoid stepping on the robe and getting themselves into trouble. And they like stumble a little bit, but then they're like, "Ah, a newcomer! I've never seen you here before."
Like Ite like looks down at the goblins and like hunched over because like I feel like Ite is quite tall.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my yes, I was just I'm new to this place and thought I would check out the library for it seems very vast and grand and frankly delightful.
And they're like, "You don't look a day over 150.
Oh, you are too kind. I am in fact 158, so I'm very flattered.
Oh, well, yes, when, everyone has their vanity. Anyway, you must be quite excited to have entered here. This is, after all, a very fine library. Do you have a particular inquiry?"
Oh, I'm so happy you asked. Yes, I had heard whisperings of this great pie contest that
Oh, yes, the
I
pie
told them was
contest.
there.
I would
And
like to try one of those pies someday, but I'm just not as old as those elves.
ah, yes, I can sympathize somewhat. I was wondering if perhaps I could at least imagine what they might taste like by perusing the previous winners of this pie contest of yours. So I may imagine what it would be like to eat those fantastic pies.
And then she's like, I think her name's like Gabriella or something. And Gabriella, the goblin librarian. And she's like, "Oh, well, then I will have to take you to the special collection." And like you go out into the back and like you pass by all these bookshelves and then you like go down this like spiral staircase and then you enter into like this room and there's like these big like tapestries like along the walls that like have these giant pies on them with like all these different fruits around the pie. And there's like this huge like dais with like this big like book on it, and it's like, "Behold our finest treasure," and like you go up to this book and it's like, you know, it's all like illuminated and it's like very beautifully designed. And if you actually like look at the text of the book, it's like written like a George R.R. Martin novel where like the description of the pie is like 20 pages long. um,
Oh my.
so
Book of Pies.
yeah, the Great Book of Pies. Yeah, this is like if you stole this would definitely be like an artifact level item here. So I
Wow.
think this would be like, this would either be Know Your Stuff, but I don't think it's Know Your Stuff because you're a hedge witch. So I think this is probably Discern Realities.
I
Yeah.
get to discern the pie.
Yeah, like discern, like try to understand the book,
Oh my god.
like what is in fact the best pie for this situation.
I'm so happy I'm discerning pies right now. Like, this is amazing. That's with wisdom, right?
Yes, with wisdom.
Awesome.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you're not pie wise.
Oh, I got a 10 still.
Okay.
I'm rolling for days.
Yeah. So, you can ask 2 questions.
Ooh,
Oh no, wait,
okay.
3 questions. So,
I get 3 questions.
yeah.
Yes.
What happened here recently?
Ooh.
What is about to happen? What should I be on the lookout for? What here is useful or valuable to me? Who's really in control here? And what here is not what it appears to be?
Ooh. Okay, I know what I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna ask first. I guess like what here is useful to me.
Okay. Yeah. So the first question would that would be the first obvious question. Um, what you do find that is useful is like you can find the winning pie descriptions from like the last 10 years, so you like know what's kind of like what's hot in the pie circuit these days. And it also has like detailed ingredient lists. And like when I say detailed, I mean like very detailed. Like this is like every ingredient in the recipe has like a 4-page description of its origin and how it was brought to the capital and all this kind of thing. um so you have like an ingredient list, and you know like what pies are like the best right now.
Excellent. I would also like to know, uh, what should I be on the lookout for?
um I
Like, is there a
think
particular pie that looks like, oh my gosh, this was like the pie of all pies?
um I think what you should be look on the lookout for is that it's noted that 6 years ago, uh, Pata was on a winning team of the pie contest.
Ah, that just boils my blood. Like, oh, like, fair play to him. He's good at what he does, but oh my God, we need to squash him today.
Yeah, there's like in the illumination of like that page, you can see there's like Pata. There's like these little like sparkly things all around him, like showing how beautiful his scales are.
I feel like as if they've been reading, she's had her like light orbs to help her see, but as she reads like Pata's name, she's just like, "Ugh," like crushes it to the ground. Um, and then I think my third question will be, what here is not what it appears to be?
mm, um I think you notice that um I think the thing that you notice is that uh if you look through like um the record of who inscribed each of these entries in the book, um you see that there is one name that keeps coming up again and again, and it is
Pata.
no, it is Ivor. So like it seems that like for at least 300 years, this pie competition has been in some way organized by a certain Ivor. Uh, so yes.
How fascinating. I will try and remember as much of this as possible.
All right. So remember,
Reveal relay it.
you get +1 forward acting on the information you received. Yeah.
Excellent.
All right.
Well, while I cannot bake, I am glad that I could contribute to this noble battle.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. I'm sure you'll be able to contribute. So, Frederick, I want to see what you're doing to prepare for the epic battle to come.
Yeah, I'm going to chop down one of those rock trees.
Okay.
Because if they grow on a rock, then their wood probably burns slow and steadily, right?
Okay. Yeah, for sure. That sounds totally fair. So maybe this is I think this is just know your stuff. You can just do that.
I'm really enjoying what like a wanky pie this is. Where like it's like the flour's being carried all the way from like seawall, and it's got this like concept about like the elderly, and there's like the wood has been like cut down and it's like grown slowly in a. Oh yeah, the wood. It's the maybe it's like bonsai too. The wood it's like grown super slowly in the
Yeah.
rock over like hundreds of years or something.
Yeah, yeah. It has the. We could smoke the pie. Smoke the pie. Yes, I think that yeah, you'll get like some bonus points because you had the discernment to look for a very elderly tree, and as everyone knows, age is equivalent to value. So you've all assembled. I don't think anybody needs to rest per se, but how like I think we should check in. How's everybody doing for time?
Uh, yeah, in the calendar, only 2 hours were, but I'm fine.
Okay. All right. So I think we'll do the climactic scene here, and then maybe do some feedback about the playtest.
Awesome.
Okay. So the next day, after you've all been doing your preparations, everybody gathers in the town square, and there's like these two like big ovens that have been hauled in. And like Croquembouche, this thing is like 10 times your size, the oven. But then like you look, it's like 10 times your size, but when you like actually look inside, there's just like this little tiny like metal assemblage used for baking pies. Like the oven is just huge in order to be impressive. It's not actually like you need to have an oven this large. And yeah, so I think you see like Baklava like walks up to the opposing oven, and she's like still in like she still like has like her nightcap on instead of a chef's hat, and she's just got like she's like just put her clothes on. She's like, oh well, I'm ready to go. Whatever, and. Next, we see Cedric show up, and he's got his like very fancy axe, and his page is like there to like hand him wood to split, and we see that Okra is like he's this old guy, right? But he's got like a wooden cart that he's like hauling with him, and it's like filled with different like ingredients that he's collected. And then finally we see Pata, who is just like looking on, but like staring idly at like this medallion that he won previously for having won this championship, and like looking like showing it conspicuously to everybody, like, oh, I'm not going to say anything about it, but you all know that I was on the previous winning team. So so the king like has like a walking stick and like gets up onto a stage and is like, yes, well, it falls to me to announce the inauguration of the 620th Great Pie Competition of Drake Vale. And like looks to the elders, and they're just like, get on with it. And they're like, they have like these like settings out already, and they're like nervously like moving their cutler around because they're so excited to eat some pie. And then the king was like, yes, of course. you may begin. And there's like a trumpeter who's like, and then like,
Yes.
then the competition is on. Okay, so, I think this is actually going to be a pretty simple procedure because Dungeon World doesn't really have like an involved like contest rule. So it might be a little bit anticlimactic, but we're gonna see what we can do. So the first thing I want Frederick to do is to get the fire going, right? So I think this is gonna be like probably like a defy danger, like is this I'll give it strength just because I gave you that bonus to strength, and you can take an extra. You can take an extra +1 from having gone and got the special wood. So you're taking +2 to your roll.
Oh, okay, +2.
Yeah.
It's an 8.
Okay, you got an 8.
Yeah, and this is some like right stoking the fire. We need to keep a constant temperature, so you can't let off and you can't like quicken your pace. It needs to stay at the same.
So does anyone want to help Frederick with the fire?
I could do that.
Okay, so how are you helping?
I will, well, shedding some tears, throw in one of my green bricks, which are like, as tinder, it's like a light up immediately and help get it going.
Oh yeah, it's like kindling.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
It smells great.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
It'll all burn off. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, roll to aid. Roll with your bond. And if you want to spend one of your bricks, I think that would put you down to 0, right?
I bought some rations, which I was using as my bricks.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, so you can spend one of those if you want to take an extra +1.
I've already got an 11.
All right, so you got an 11. So that means it's a +2. So then Frederick's move goes up to a 10. So, Frederick, describe how you perfectly regulate this fire and get it ready for some pie baking.
Yeah, I think what happens is as soon as the green brick starts burning, right, and its flare wafts throughout the room, I fall into a trance from whatever you were burning there, right? So I'm like perfectly keeping 100% pace, keeping the fire going and blowing it, right? It's only that maybe Arcar needs to keep an eye on putting fuel in at the right time, because I would just keep doing the same.
Wrong
And
brick.
the ice
wrong
glaze
brick.
over, and yeah. I'm gonna be totally spent the next day, shoulders and arms, but
All right. Yeah, no, that's great. So, okay, so the fire is ready. And I think we like look over to the other team, and it's probably like Cedric's being assisted by his page, and he's cutting, he's splitting that wood like perfectly. It just splits so well because he's got this very fancy axe, very sharp. But the problem is like he's just been using some wood from his father's company, and he didn't go looking for his own special wood, so the fire's kind of like flaring up and then going back down again. So we don't know how it's gonna go, but the next thing that's gonna happen here, I should pull this up. So while I'm doing this, Ithe, why don't you describe what special ingredient you found in the book that you brought to the competition?
Ooh. Well, I'm such a sucker personally for like herbs and pies, like
Mm-hmm.
basil and sage and stuff. So I kind of feel like it has to be like a special like very little grows in these mountains, but what does grow is the coveted like midnight sage um that if you're lucky you can find like in a blue moon kind of thing. And that's the coveted ingredient that was like the best pie was this very sweet, savory combination of midnight sage and exotic fruits.
Okay, nice. So yeah, you're making like a savory pie. Yeah, and like it's probably like the team from Tree Wall is making like a fruit pie because like they have all these fruits from Tree Wall that they can use with like their orchards there. Uh, but your team is making like maybe like a fish pie with like savory stuff in it, like a salmon pie or something. Yeah, and prunes. Yes, the prunes to add flavor, definitely. Um, yeah. So okay, so I want to like try to spend this move here. Um, so I'm going to now as Ivor. Like Ivor's like watching the competition. He's like actually like sitting there in the stand with the other judges, like in his like elf disguise with his red robe. And he's like, this is looking interesting, but I think I need to cook it up a notch. And like he pulls out like this like a medallion and like starts like making a magic symbol on it. And we see like there's like a magical influence like in the sky. You see like a red dragon circle above the competition. And there's like, kind of like this aura that comes down over Croquembouche. And I want to use my move, which does. Here it is. Oops. There it is. Yeah, fire in the belly. Spend one hold to grant a PC the Herculean Appetites move from the Barbarian class until the end of the session. Have them describe how it feels as they are overcome by their newfound passion. So just to give you a description of Herculean Appetites, in case you don't remember what it says, it's others may content themselves with just a taste of wine or dominion over a servant or two, but you want more. Choose two appetites. While pursuing one of your appetites, if you would roll for a move, instead of rolling 2d6, you roll 1d6 plus 1d8. If the d6 is the higher die of the pair, the GM will also introduce a complication or danger that comes about due to your heedless pursuits. So you can pick pure destruction, power over others, mortal pleasures, conquest, riches and property, or fame and glory.
I'm gonna choose I'll choose mortal pleasures, but it's like with a focus on on food.
Yeah.
On eating and providing mortal pleasures. And I guess fame and glory.
Right.
Baking fame and glory.
Yes. So like like what does it look like when Croquembouche like charges up into like power mode?
I think maybe Yeah, I think maybe the dragon like flies over the top and she looks up and she's just we see this like big spinning like wheel of like all different like pastries and pies and stuff all like spinning around her in a big, and she's like watching them all go past. And then I think there's like little flashes of like her like pies and things being like taken like and given to like, you know, queens and kings, and like, you know, she'd probably, it's like images of her getting like carried down the like streets of different cities on a little like chair, and everybody's like throwing stuff to her and stuff.
Right. And then, like, it's like in the like anime version of this, we see that there's like little like fires in her eyes, like she's like
Yeah, she probably got like a knife in each hand, and she's like,
yeah, like
you know,
chopping up
some,
salmon and stuff.
Yeah.
Like throwing in all these herbs. Okay, so
yeah, like garnishing stuff while yelling, like, "Ah!"
yeah, exactly. so you can I guess this is like defy danger intelligence, and you can roll 1d6 plus 1d8, and then you get plus 2 because you have the 2 special ingredients, right? Yeah.
Cool. And I think I had the I had that +1 from earlier with my rival
Yes.
thing as well.
So you're at a +3.
Cool. Oh, it's massive. It's like a 6. It's like a 16.
So like you're like, you know, perfectly and like speedily cutting up all of these ingredients, putting them into this pie. It was like we see like, you know, like the prunes are like flying in at the same time that like the salmon pieces are flying in, and like we see like you like in fast forward you're like covering it over with like the pastry, and it's probably like from the other side, like baklava is just like slowly like putting things together like in a very improvised way, like taking, it's like, oh, maybe an apple, and like and then, like in the background we just see Crocobush like and Frederick is just like rhythmically pumping the bowels of the fire while she's like going back and forth. So yeah, so you make the pie, and you know it's like served out to the judges, and of course like the king eats last because he's like the youngest one on the panel, and then they all like get together and confer with each other, and you see that like Ivor is just like going around talking like back and forth and to the different members of the group, and your rivals are all like, you know, like standing there, like they're probably like all like assembled around Pata, and Pata's just like, oh yes, like of course we'll win, just looking at his medal, and like I think he probably like comes over and says like, well, it does seem that you've put a lot of effort into this pie you've made, but well, I mean, we did have the natural advantage of having the finest fruit around.
They interjects by placing a hand on, or at least provided Bush is still like in the heat of things, will say, but what you did not account for is that Bush is destined for greatness, and that their culinary skills outmatch not just the Nomish people, but everyone in all the land.
Nice. Yeah, and he's just like, well, perhaps they have a certain earnest effort that they may apply to their art, but my friend Baklava is a master of improvisation, and I'm sure she will wow the crowd as yours just cannot. And turns around and leaves, and then there's like the and then like the the king walks out with his staff, is like, having conferred with my esteemed colleagues, we have come to the conclusion that the group from Seawall, with their innovative salmon and prune pie, the first such pie ever entered in the contest, were the winners. And
Yay!
there's like a page like throwing confetti like out, and it's like the confetti's like made with very nice paper, of course, because of the city. And yeah, and then like we actually get the scene from like Crocabush's dream. Like Crocabush is like carried on a sedan chair through the streets, and like the sedan chair is like actually shaped like a pie plate. And the rest of you are like in the parade, walking up to the castle, and then we just get like a concluding scene of like the group going back, and there's like the magus from the castle. It's probably like a very, very old elf is going to go talk to the dragon for you. All right, so I think that's probably our session here. Congratulations, everybody.
Oh my gosh.
What?
I have like such a toothache. It was the sweetest game I've ever played.
Yay. So let's talk playtest stuff. Do you have any thorns about the game to start with?
Should we go in name superiority order?
Yeah, let's do that. Alex, you're first. Do you have a thorn
Alrighty.
about the game?
First thing that comes to mind is like the journal keeper role.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a lot of fun and I'm really enjoying it, but it's like a bit much to keep track of by myself.
Okay, so it's a lot for one person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
It could be like a split each segment thing up by person and like rotate it around. Could be like a good idea.
yeah, and like, so
Maybe-
we didn't actually do the end of session thing, which I feel like is kind of a crime. But did you actually get to like finish your entry by the end of the session?
I finished it for getting up to the castle,
Okay.
but I didn't manage to finish the pie competition.
Yeah, so I think like it may be a thing where like normally we would have a lot more breaks in the game, but because we weren't traveling, then we didn't have that many breaks. So I feel like there's probably some kind of like timekeeping thing or something that should be taken into account for the journal keeping. Or maybe it's like you pass it around for different stages of the journey. People can contribute their own section to it. I don't know.
Yeah, this wasn't like good ideas to me.
Okay, so okay, and okay. All right. So, Lauren, do you have a thorn for this session?
Oh man. I think the only one I can think of is on the same note as having been the journal keeper,
Mm-hmm.
where I love it to pieces. Like I had such a fun time writing all those journals because I love writing. But then I guess the cognitive load meant that I was quite quiet the session prior. I noticed Alex was quite quiet the session too, which I think may have. And I think there's a couple of things I can see that would facilitate that role a bit better. Rotating per day of your travel in game, which I think would be kind of fun because then you get like everyone's unique character voice for each day. So it's like this is like the way Ite writes versus like Bush versus Frederick, which I think could be kind of fun.
Totally.
Alternatively, you could just give some notes on how to be a map person or a journal person and say, don't write anything during game, just like write your stuff during the breaks.
Yeah, I actually did write a bunch of stuff in the
cool.
text already for that, but yeah.
I did not read it. But
that is okay, but I think that like reproducing that in point form at like the start of the player handout would probably be a good idea. Just because then people are more likely to actually read it. Yeah. Okay, so
it reminds me heaps of like when I played Night Witches for way too long.
Mm-hmm.
And our GM at the start of every session made us in character recap our perspective on how things had gone, and I think having multiple people contribute to the journal in a session would have a similar flavor where it's very perspective driven rather than fact driven, which I also find enjoyable since everyone's got their own unique perspective.
Right.
On how things are.
You get XP for the rolls, right?
You do. So I will have to adjust that as like, I think what I'll do actually is to, if I do make it a rotating thing, I'll probably take away the XP bonus for being the journal keeper and just like leave the thing like, did we write a story worth telling? Because that will give everybody XP for doing it, right? So,
yeah. With the perspective. With the perspective things that might also tie into bonds and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
There was actually one thing I wasn't clear about as the journal person. I was like, should I be writing this like more neutrally and just based upon like what has happened, or can I sort of play into if there's bonds more and talk about like how that's going? So I think having bonds, having bonds in there would be kind of fun.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a good idea to use like the character's voice. I think that adds a lot to how much fun it is to read afterwards, right? Especially if like you're alternating between people, whether it's between sessions or during the session, then it's going to be fun, like being like, just having like a radically different style in there and being like, oh, okay, this is a totally different take on it. And like I also included a thing like in the guidelines that if there's a thing you really wanted to happen but didn't happen, you can just write it in your journal there anyway because like like it's kind of like this is the second pass, right? And we're like maybe your character is like embellishing a little bit, right? Like that's totally fine. Yeah,
that's pretty much how our history is documented, right? Like what history is written by the victors or whatever.
Right. Exactly. So, okay. So Lou, do you have any thorns?
I'm just in map editing mode again as I'm listening to you guys. No, I didn't have any thorns. It was really fun.
Okay.
I didn't get to do that role of the journaling thing, but I can see what everyone else is saying. I was even going to suggest that like I haven't fully looked at your recommendations and stuff, but I guess I really like that idea of sharing it around, and I think maybe if you could even have like some good kind of prompts in there and stuff, I guess, for people that aren't as confident or enthusiastic writers, like some like, just because I teach creative writing to primary school children, that's right up my alley. Like a few like just a couple of questions that they could answer about that day of travel or whatever.
Like what are the beats they should hit for each day of travel.
Yeah, like, that tie in with what the game is about, like what was a strange discovery that you all made, or what something cute and funny that somebody did, or that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. All right, and Matthias, do you have any thorns about the game?
I was thinking from last time, and the staging of the travel, and you're using a clock, right? So this is going to be 6 segments or 12 segments if it's a difficult long journey or something like that. But each stage in that is a little bit undefined or unclear. So
right.
That, like, I was thinking it would be nice if that had more structure, in a sense, where it's all about the travel, right? So it should be all about the journey, actually, right? That's your goal,
right? So like, there should be. I feel like it's like there needs to be, like, in that case, kind of like a GM move, but basically like a GM procedure for laying out the journey in a way like kind of similar to the way like you plan out a mission in like the Sprawl or something like that. Or like Mouse Guard, the way Mouse Guard does mission planning.
Potentially, right? Or it's the because if I get this right, you want to have the GM play the Rujin as the kind of mentor character in the background. It tries to guide, but from afar, or and without being seen, except for the players, for the audience, yes, but not for the characters. So you want to take, like, it might be nice if also the GM felt, I don't know yet how are we going to tackle those obstacles. Maybe knowing those obstacles are there and are kind of determined somewhere else, right? Like, it could just be, okay, if you have like these many segments, everyone needs to roll for one of the segments on a table, and like that's maybe a little bit like taking a pointer from OSR stuff, right?
Yeah.
Where you just okay, we have this prompt for this segment, and we have no idea what it's going to be, but it's going to be there, and it's something that we have to tackle together.
Right,
including
so
the GM.
People kind of have like an idea of what's ahead of them, in a way. Yeah, because the way I was doing things was like I already have like a big like biome list, and I was just like pulling, like, for each segment I was like pulling like a biome from there and like trying to like to make a description based on that. But yeah, it could totally be a thing that's like similar to the steading creation, where there's just like a little procedure at the beginning of the journey where like the group will like go around like round robin, like rolling out different biomes that will come up in the next in the journey, and then the GM can like fill in the details or something like that.
I think also because we got the high roll on the journey, like maybe the high roll still has a complication, like there's one complication in there, because that, like, cool journeys have complications while you're traveling.
Okay, so maybe roll for journey sections together, and keep a complication on 10 plus for travel move. Okay, cool. All right, so roses. Do you have roses, Alex, for this game, for this session, for the previous session?
Too many to count, but none in words at the moment. Like, I really enjoy the tone. It's a lot of fun to play. Journal keeping is a lot of fun. Like, I'm loving this journal I've made. I uploaded it, by the way. It's up there.
Yeah, we're like,
My
if we
fast
have
writing.
if we have time, we're definitely gonna have to get you to like read it like at the end of the session, just like whatever you have there, so everybody can listen, because like it would be such a waste if we didn't include it.
Yeah, I just really like the nice, easy, simplistic nature of it. Like, it's such like a low stress, fun game, and really enjoy playing it.
Good, that's great. Thank you. Lauren, do you have roses?
Again, like, too many to count. I love the tone so much. I think it says a lot that you managed to create a game that neither me nor Alex could make sad. So oh no, am I first? Am I back?
You're back.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. No, yeah, I think it says a lot that you managed to make a game that neither me nor Alex could make sad. So, yeah, I think it's just a very sweet, lovely game. The moves definitely lend themselves to that tone. And it's a very fun, easygoing, like low stress kind of game. It feels like you're going on a journey. I love the map and journal keeping aspects for that purpose. Being a journal keeper was amazingly fun.
Great.
I loved keeping note of all the stuff that was going on, and then like reading it out and sharing it. That was cool too. What else? Oh, and then just Kyle, like you do the best voices. Like it was very, you like anime-esque, like it's just adorable. So adorable.
Yeah. So
I wish I had the same voice facet that you have.
I need to add a GM directive to do cute anime voices.
Yeah, it definitely helps like maintain that like the levity. And you guys are all fun to play with. Like I'm so happy that you guys were all my traveling crew, and we managed to beat the crap out of those stupid like negaverse rivals of ours. That was oh my god, the climax of this the session was so good. Like I didn't think I would love a pie contest as much as I did. So this is so intense and epic and amazing. And I love how you could just have any competition. So like whatever people you end up having in your randomly generated pool of people, like you could just make a competition about it very easily. So
Yeah.
no, I loved everything about the session. It was amazing.
I was really glad I got to use the Herculean appetites move.
Yeah.
I just
Oh,
love
me too. That was so
love
good.
like the gnome suddenly getting a barbarian move, the gnomish chef. It's like
That was perfect.
I really liked Kyle how you're really good at taking your players' ideas like on board, like just very effortlessly, and like bringing them into what you're doing. That was because I'm always happy. Like I just throw ideas out there. It was just really nice that you're like, yeah, well, totally. They're totally like everyone can have a rival, and yes, they're totally from a mirror. Like
tree
yeah,
wall.
it was really fun. Like it felt nice. Like to, yeah, it was cool.
Thanks.
One rose for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really loved the whimsical nature you brought into this game, and that set a really cool tone. Was a lot of fun to play. That and then everybody else also played into that. That was really awesome.
Yeah, no, and like it was great having you all together in this group, and like for Lou and Matthias, it was my first time playing with you, so that was awesome too. Yeah.
And I'm
Can
really interested. Oh, sorry.
You go. I'm infringing upon your roses.
And what I really like and I'm really interested is in the giving the GM a mechanical basis of helping the group, right? And in that way, like limiting it, but also like, yeah.
Yeah, I find as the GM, I find that to be really fun. To be like, okay, I'm gonna spend my hold. Like I get to do like because the thing is PBTA GMing is so reactive, but like I like the thing where it's like you just get like those like like 3 opportunities to do something active instead of being reactive. So yeah, it's fun, but not like breaking the dynamic, I think.
Yeah, I find that's an interesting aspect, interesting mechanical aspect that could also be interesting to build on.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, thanks, roses, to everybody for having fun characters and, like, grabbing onto the game concept and giving me good feedback. And, yeah, it was a fun time. And I'm interested to see what would happen if we played with like the Black Dragon. It's like, the like Grave of the Fireflies, like sad time, Dragons and Travelers' Tales.
Whether next time.
Yeah, whether that would like break the game or not, like I'd be really interested just to see if like it would work. But yeah, definitely at some point there'll be another playtest for sure, and be happy to have you all play again. Okay, so I don't think I have any more questions at this point in time.
Did you get what you needed out of playtesting?
Yeah, I think so. I got some good feedback. I think one last question I had was... did you find that bonds worked for you, or would you have liked to see some kind of other sort of like group cohesion mechanic in the game there?
It definitely, they drove our characters a lot, I think, especially in the... I mean, I think that's kind of how they work in Dungeon World.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, like they're good for the first like few sessions, and then like just that's been my experience, then they begin to fall like away a little bit. I don't think my ones came up heaps in this one, but they were especially good in the first session.
Okay.
Yeah, they really serve well as the character creation part, right? And getting everybody on the same page.
Right.
I've the same problem with bonds every time. That I kind of wanna move over to writing kind of burning wheel-like beliefs about the journey, but that's like taking it a step too far.
But like, yeah, I mean, here's the thing about writing beliefs is like, do you want to write beliefs in a game with like randomized character generation? Like, I feel like the sort of like fill in the blank formulas of bonds may be a little bit easier to work with instead of being like, I have to get into Crocobush's head, like I mean, maybe I don't know. I could try running it with beliefs. Like, I always love beliefs, so
I mean, not at the beginning, right? You have to resolve a bond to maybe be allowed to write a belief or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, or even the instinct thing, like, is like more like the mouse guard style thing. Like, that could actually be a cool thing, like in this sort of game, like what, or even as like if you play a second session with the same characters, like what's an instinct that you will do in a particular situation that you'll try hit or something like.
Right. Yeah, you definitely could include instincts.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Remind me again how you resolve bonds. Is it kind of like a
It's super vague. It's like
Yeah.
a big like this is the same as in Dungeon World, right? Like it's if you feel it is resolved, right? So like
Yeah, also, if it doesn't matter anymore, as long as
Yeah.
the other player agrees, yeah, it doesn't matter anymore, then
Yeah,
you get XP for it, which
very very vague. And like
I
this is
kind of wish that it would say I'm sorry, I just interrupted nearly everybody all at
no.
once. Then mute myself.
Oh, I wanted to hear what you were saying.
Yeah, you finish your thought, Lou.
I kind of wish that Dungeon World had it said play with bonds for the first 2 sessions, and then here's how flags work to continue like playing with, because I'm trying to teach my home group at the moment like to play with like flags, and I think it's a bit too much to ask them to learn to use them straight away when you first start playing if they're inexperienced with that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm kind of introducing them to them at the moment because I think they work really well.
right.
Yeah.
And learn
I just love the
go ahead.
projecting nature of beliefs, right? Because
Yeah.
they give like an active part to the player where you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna say it. Like, we'll find out if it's true or not, but I'm just going to postulate that something is this or that way from the perspective of my player or my character, and then we'll find out if that's true or not. But it gives like me the option, the initiative on the player side to put something into the world. While flags is like, yeah, here, please come play with me. I've got a nice toy here. Do someone want to interact with that?
Right. I mean, I feel that flags are very good for one shots. That's like I feel like they're in a way kind of superior to beliefs for doing one shot games,
definitely.
which is why I think that Jason uses them all the time in Dungeon World. But beliefs are fantastic. I have no complaints about beliefs. I will play games with beliefs forever. So yeah, just yeah.
Definitely more for campaign though.
Yeah.
And maybe I have one like curiosity, which is maybe I wrote my bonds too positive, but I felt some of them were a bit self-perpetuating. So like believing that Frederick was very dedicated to their craft. I was like, I don't see how I could resolve this unless Frederick's like, oh, the boat sank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the resolution condition, right?
Yeah.
And this is
and I think the game.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I think that because I went so positively and the game is so positive, I was like, I didn't envision any of it ever resolving. So I was like, yeah, happy fun times.
Yeah.
So,
well, as long as we had happy
yeah.
fun times, I mean, that's kind of the point. So, but I took a lot of the bond-related moves from Worlds of Adventure, and like Worlds of Adventure, one of their design things that they're doing, like to try to revise Dungeon World, is like flesh out bonds a lot more, and like involve them in a lot more things. And I think that's good, but there still is that question of bond resolution that being very, very vague, which I think that might need some work. But yeah. Anyway, as just interested about that because like obviously it's a thing that people have as an issue with Dungeon World. So it was like a big question mark for me as a designer at the very beginning of writing this game. Is like, do I keep this? Do I replace it? Let's see how it goes. I'm just gonna stick with bonds to start with. So
yeah, for character creation, I like having the generic list there, right?
Yeah.
Where you just pick.
Yeah.
That's fast and nice and puts every relationship between everybody.
Yeah. And that was like an interesting thing, trying to like come up with that and sort of like hack together like Worlds of Adventure and Funnel World and like make characters out of these things. Yeah. Uh, okay. Well, uh, I think we need to hear Alex's story, and then we can wrap up the session.
Hey.
Alrighty.
Lou, do you have a picture to send us?
Yeah, my map's in there now. It's right above
All right.
Alex's thing.
Awesome. Oop,
Alrighty.
I'm looking. Oh, okay. Here, it just loaded for me. Awesome.
Are we ready to hear Arka's tale?
I'm so ready.
Alrighty. So, today, the elders sent us out on a journey to the capital of our kingdom, Drakevale. Apparently, the Dark Dragon is causing some trouble. The fetching grandfather's medicine has become much easier. We need to get there pretty soon to stop this forest growing through our town, so we decided to take the main highway instead of the back roads. Good friends. First, we passed through some sunny grasslands, brimming with flowers and sheep to eat them. I thought we could make friends with one, but they already had a sun dragon pal. Maybe next time. We found an old keep as well. Didn't seem like there was anyone there at first. But when we got closer, we spotted a lone guard sleeping on top of the parapets. Guess they're waiting for their shift. After the keep, we had to go through some misty highlands. It was a bunch of rocks having a fight, but it turned out one of them was a dragon. It had been sleeping so long, grass had started to grow on it. You better be careful when I'm collecting herbs around here. We eventually descended into a deciduous forest. It was much warmer than the highlands, but still just as wet. We arrived at the first town of the journey, Aldergrove. Must have been pretty old, because there are a couple of old stumps lying around the place with even more rings than I can count. Frederick was cataloguing trees as usual, until some smug elf walked up and mentioned he had barely scratched the surface. Are there secrets about what even Frederick doesn't know? At long last, Drakevale. It's a massive city surrounded by mountains. The first thing I noticed was the massive dragon perched right above the town. It wasn't moving, so I don't think anyone else noticed it. You can't fool Arka that easily twice. The second thing I noticed was the smell of pies that look even more delicious than croquembouches. I better not tell her I wrote that, though. On our way to the castle, we saw some students camping outside of the library. They were holding some signs about giving books to the young. It sounds full of stationery. I wonder why they need more. Maybe I should give them this journal. We entered the castle to have an audience with the king, but another group got there at the same time. In the end, we decided on a baking competition, facing a group that looks just like our own. Okra, the wise herbalist. Pada, the beautiful humble bragger. In brackets. Ask Athay what this means later. Cedric, the lumber baron. And Baklava, the gnomish baker. Did a lot of preparations, and long story short, we sold some special herbs and got some special things. Finally, the day of the competition. The 620th competition. Giant ovens. Pada holding a medal. Baklava in a nightcap. Trumpets. Frederick had trouble starting the fire, so I threw in a brick of herbs to help. Though I think I chose the wrong brick. Frederick doesn't seem to mind, though. Athay pulled out her special herbs, some midnight sage. Where the heck did she get it from? She sure knows some mysterious things. As expected of the hedge wizard. As Croquembush started her cooking, there was a mysterious red light above her, as magical pastries floated around her mysteriously. As the cooking frenzy took hold, she brought out the mythical and terrifying jewel blade salmon fillet. Maybe I should stop messing with the food she makes at camp. We won! Our village will finally go back to normal. How on earth will I get grandfather's medicine now?
Oh my gosh, that was so cute.
That was the best.
Yeah,
Amazing.
awesome. The best thing is, I just realized we won the pie bake off just to be the first to audition, right?
Yeah.
So we spent like days to be the first. And then they're like, okay, now the king is done with you guys. I'm gonna speak to the next group.
That's
Who
right.
had to wait like minutes for us.
It's a bureaucratic problem. They had to deal with it. All right. Well, thanks everybody. That was super fun and great story. So, see you all
Thank
around.
you for creating this and running it.
No
Yeah.
And thank you
problem.
guys for playing. It was such good fun.
Thanks. See you so soon.
Yeah. See you all.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.